So, 1 week later, and we are back. Last week, when we did our last video, Bitcoin was in a red day. And I told you guys, don't worry about short-term price movements because the risk-on mode come back to the market. So did Michael Saylor. And he said, sell a tooth if you must, but keep the Bitcoin. And I kept my Bitcoin. And I told you guys, I hold Bitcoin and I suggest you that hold your Bitcoin too. So, a week later, what happened? Today, Bitcoin breaks $109,000, setting new all-time high. I'm very happy. This is the happiest day ever. Bitcoin reaches all-time high 16 years later. The first Bitcoin was minted and worth zero. Now it's worth more than $109,000. This is amazing, impressive. Thank you, Michael Saylor. Thank you for suggesting us to keep the Bitcoin with us. And I hold my Bitcoin. I will keep holding Bitcoin. Let's see. Here, the Bitcoin reaches new all-time high, $109,000. And now the price of Bitcoin come back a little, $107,000. Don't worry, short-term price movement. We are entering in a new phase, the phase of price discovery again. And Michael Saylor has another suggestion to us. And he just said today, if you are not buying Bitcoin at all-time high, you are leaving money on the table. Oh, Michael, let me sell my Bitcoin. I need to be rich. When I will sell my Bitcoin? So I will hold again. I will wait because now we are entering in a new era of price discovery. En route show this uncharted territory to us. Let's see, these charts show us that we don't have a left chart. We don't have resistances on the left. So we are on discovery mode. Where the price of Bitcoin can go? Write down in the comments. I would like to know what you think about it. But the market is on greed mode. They think that we are going higher and higher. Last month we were on fear mode, but now we come back to the grid and all the market is still in grid. Let's see, Bitcoin surpasses Amazon to become the 5th largest asset in the world by market cap. Just for a few moments when we reach all-time high, but now we just have a little correction and Bitcoin come back to $107,000 and become the 6th. But this is impressive, this is amazing. Bitcoin has less than 2 decades and is on top 10 assets in the world, losing for the biggest companies in the world, and of course for gold that are here, millennials. But Bitcoin can improve what gold do better and improve what the gold have the worst side. And I think Bitcoin is the gold for a digital era. And I think in this cycle of Bitcoin, maybe we can reach the top 2 or top 3. But in the next cycle, I think we may seek the price of gold. And once again, I must say, bears, I'm sorry for you. Last week, I invited them to the party, but the bears didn't listen. $50 million worth of Bitcoin shorts liquidated in the past 60 minutes. Bears, don't try to hold this train. Let them go. Let the price of Bitcoin skyrocket. But the only thing that scares me right now is Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer suggests buying Bitcoin as a hedge against excessive government borrowing. I know, Jim, I know your best intentions about Bitcoin. Don't say nothing about it. Let's see here. Jim, that's very nice. I love to see the commentaries. Prepare for the dump. No, don't say that. Jim, I love you, guy. I kiss for you. And I'm so excited about the price of Bitcoin that I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kyle and I'm a Coinex ambassador, and if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel and smash that like button. So let's start with the economic calendar. And this week, we don't have anything big to worry us, but always be prepared for a tweet. We know how the things works. So let's jump to the charts, starting with the XY. We can see here the XY is showing us weakness and testing this important support area. In the past, since 2015, we can see here that this area is important. In the past, acting as a resistance and now acting as a support. This area of 9,900. So let's go to the daily chart. In the daily chart, we can see this area here, this trend line, and the price couldn't become above this area, fails to support the price, and now we just fall back. And we can see in the RSI that we lose the neutral area of 50, and now this is pointing back down. So the sellers are gaining control. And why is important to see the dollar index? A weak dollar generally supports risk on assets as Bitcoin, equities, and commodities. So this is a crucial chart to see what we can have in the next few chapters of the market. Let's come back to the weekly graphic because we have here a multi-decade ascending channel. And if the price of the XY couldn't manage above the support area, here we can come back and test this area of support of this ascending channel. So if the price come down to this area over here, of course, this is good for risk on assets as Bitcoin. Despite greed are back to the market, this is not a good moment for S&P. Of course, S&P just managed very well to break this resistance and just skyrocket, but now are facing his first resistance area, this area of resistance over here. And if we put in the 4-hour chart, we can see that this area here are showing us weakness signs like this is an ascending channel. This is a weakening sign, and we fail to become above this area. So this trend line don't act as a support anymore, and we fail and just break down, catching a lot of stops over here. So the next step of S&P, we might see a downtrend, and this area over here is a support, very big support, because we have the 200 EMA, we have the support of this area over here. So in the next few days, we can see a recovery of the price here. But if you can't stop the price in this area over here, maybe we can come back to this area over here because we have this gap in price and this fair value gap, this huge fair value gap. So the price could come back a little more before we jump to the new all-time highs. I think we can go to all-time highs this year. And we can see here in this RSI just become exhausted. So now we are just resetting this RSI. Let's see if the price of S&P could form a new higher low on this area to maintain the trend up. Key moment for risk assets. And now let's talk about Bitcoin. And in the end, we will see the chart of Bitcoin, of course. News. US Bitcoin ETFs mark their 5th consecutive week of positive inflows. We can see here week 20, last week, almost 6,000 Bitcoin were added to the ETF Bitcoin. And this week 21, we have Monday, Tuesday counted. Wednesday, we didn't have this added in this chart. We can see almost 10,000 Bitcoin have been added. These impressive numbers. And we are in a record time, all-time high of inflows in the ETF. Since the start of ETF on January 2024, now we have more than $42 billion added. Oh, that's impressive. And here we can see spot Bitcoin ETFs bought 26,000 Bitcoin so far in May, while miners only mined 7,000 Bitcoin. So they are buying much more Bitcoin that the miners are producing. And this is a clear sign that the market wants Bitcoin a lot. And we had positive news for the crypto sector too. Coinbase joined S&P 500 days after Bitcoin soared past $100,000. This is huge. Even Michael Saylor was congratulating Brian Armstrong and Coinbase for this. A major milestone for Coinbase and for Bitcoin. And why is that? When we see this company enter in S&P, this legitimizes the crypto sector for traditional investors and for financial institutions, and also reinforce the narrative that the crypto market is becoming mainstream too. Everyone wants to buy Bitcoin right now. Retail, big companies, ETFs, even countries, even governments are buying Bitcoin, except Jamie Dimon. I know, and you guys know that he's not a fan of Bitcoin. Also, Peter Schiff. But Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JPMorgan, and we remember when he gave this interview.
He mentioned Bitcoin. You said you didn't know what we were talking about. We pretty much always have some crypto conversation with you. I'm just curious because I don't think we've talked to you since.
I think all that's been a waste of time, and why you guys waste any breath on it is totally beyond me.
Because you just think the whole thing just is
going to zero?
Going to zero and it's fake?
Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rock.
You're back to that? Yeah. Really?
Bitcoin is a pet rock. That's very nice. Jamie Dimon 2 years ago said that. And Jamie Dimon said also that if he catches an employee buying Bitcoin, he will fire this employee. And now, look, Jamie Dimon just gave an interview and said, I defend your right to buy Bitcoin. Now, he is in love with Bitcoin. No, he also said he's not a fan of Bitcoin. We know that, but he will defend your right to buy Bitcoin. JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon says the bank will let clients buy Bitcoin. JPMorgan has more than $4 trillion in custody, and all this money wants to go to some place. And now, where Americans want to put this money? Americans want to put the money in Bitcoin, rather than gold. Bitcoin become America's reserve asset. Of course, JPMorgan wants to sell Bitcoin now because everyone wants to Bitcoin. 37 million Americans own gold and 50 million Americans own Bitcoin. This is huge. So everyone wants Bitcoin and I need to provide this Bitcoin for the people. So JPMorgan wants to sell Bitcoin for you now. He will defend your right to buy Bitcoin. Let's continue because Standard Chartered Bank predicts Bitcoin to hit $500,000 by 2028 by institutional adoption. 3 years from now. So I will hold my Bitcoin. I don't want to sell it now. Of course, this is just a prediction, but I don't need to sell my Bitcoin right now to buy something else. I will hold my Bitcoin. And maybe I will hold my Bitcoin to 2030 because Archivest CEO Cathie Wood predicts Bitcoin price will reach $1.5 million by 2030. Let's see.
What would your new target be?
Yes, so we have always had a 2030 target, the base case in the 700 to 750,000 range, the bull case in the $1.5 million range.
I prefer the bull case. Bull case, $1.5 million by 2030. I will wait for that. But before we look at the Bitcoin chart, I invite you to Coinex. It's a very simple and easy platform. Has the largest number of cryptos, values your privacy, and does not require KYC. And Bitcoin made history again, breaking the last resistance of price. Let's see, this area over here was our last resistance. The bears trying to defend the area, but they cannot manage that. And one thing shows us that this movement is bullish because when we put the volume here, we can see that is in a downtrend, but now when we break the $108,000 resistance area, we break it with a huge movement in volume. So this is a bullish uptrend. As long as it stays above this area over here, $108,000, the next target of Bitcoin, of course, will be $115,000. So let's see if the Bitcoin bulls can manage that. But the bears are trying to low down the price. In the past, we saw this falling wedge over here. This is a bullish movement, bullish pattern. But if we saw this falling edge, now we can see the rising edge. This is the opposite movement. This is a weaker movement that can show us that the price will coming down. If the bears could make the price coming inside this range and lose this trend line here, where will be the support of Bitcoin? We can see first this area of 108, of course, but after that we have the area of $100,000. It's a psychological area, very important, and here you can see that we have the fair value gap. So this area could act as a supporting price of Bitcoin. 108, 100,000, and after that we have here 96 and of course $92,000 because we are talking about ranges, and in the past this was our range. Now could act as a support too. But now I don't see anything that show us that we are losing the momentum, losing the bullish momentum. We are in a strong uptrend right now, targeting new highs. But if the bears could somehow make the price come back, will be another opportunity to buy Bitcoin. So let's see what the future is reserved to us. And that's it for today's video. Don't forget to smash this like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.